Hi, my name is Bob and I'm renovating this 1973 Egg Harbor Sportfish boat. Well, hello and welcome to Renovation Sportfish. The day has finally come. Been hearing me talk about it forever if you've been following along with my videos, but in this episode it's actually going to happen. You're actually going to see me work in front of the camera on the boat, believe it or not. So that's pretty exciting. This episode, the work I did here takes place in March of 2019. Now, I know I'm kind of skipping over January and February. I'll get back to those months later on. But I really wanted to get back on the inside of the boat and show me working on the overhead panels and beams and all that stuff. We left off in episode 28 where I got most of the panels in and most of the beam veneers in. So if you haven't seen that video, you might want to check out that first. And this video, we just kind of continue with all that work. Now, I filmed this in March of 2019. I didn't start the channel until May. So this is kind of like pilot, I would call footage. I was just trying to see how I'd like being in front of the camera. I wanted to see if it took too long to set up cameras and it was going to be a pain and I wasn't even going to want to do YouTube. So that was the purpose of shooting all this footage. It's not too bad. I might be a little stiff because I didn't have any camera time. So just keep that in mind when you're watching it. And I hope you actually enjoy it. So let's just get into the guts of the work here. At the end of this video, I'm going to talk about more on the lines of the schedule and how I'm going to release videos for the 2019 projects and all that kind of business. So you won't have to listen to that if you're not into that and you just want to watch a guy work on a boat. So with that, we'll start talking about this first project. So I mentioned episode 28 where I did the majority of the overhead panels in the salon area here. Now I did leave 3 panels over here above my head. I'm standing where the galley is going to be eventually. And one of the veneers, it's on a camera shot in front of me over here. I didn't get those done, so the first thing I had to do once the weather got warm enough in early March was to install those panels and that one veneer. So you're looking at some pictures here of the 3 panels and the actual installation of those panels and the single veneer. The project I wanted to work on today is installing some veneers on the sides of the beams. They're mahogany veneers, and I've already done all the main beams that stretch the whole beam of the boat, both sides. So I just have a few left to do in the galley area. Now I'll go over the products that I'm going to use to attach these veneers to the ceiling beams. Obviously the first thing you need is the veneer itself. But then we're going to use, I use West Systems 2-part epoxy. I've always used West Systems. I'm not endorsing saying it's better than anybody else's or anything, but I'm just used to it. I've always used it, and so that's what I'm going to be using all throughout this. So I get these little plastic mixing cups. You can use these more than once. Once the epoxy, any left over in there is hardened up, you just crack it out, pop it out, clean it out, and you can use it again. Get quite a few uses out of this before it starts cracking and getting too hard to clean. Mix it up with these little plastic things here. Got a nice curved edge on one side if you want to do a fillet, a larger fillet. If you want a smaller fillet for anything, I guess you just use a popsicle stick. That's what I do. And then it's got a nice flat end over here to clean stuff off, whatever. I use these utility brushes, get them at the big box stores. Pair of gloves, because it's always a mess. Usually use multiple pairs because I get stuff all over them. Paper towels, plenty of those. To attach them, actually to the beam. I would normally probably use this kind of a product. This is a 610 with the has the metering type of tip on it, but it's kind of chilly right now, and this stuff doesn't dry really quickly, which could be good. And in this case, though, it's not really what I want. It's a lot easier. You don't have to mix up anything else. You just squirt it on there and put it up there. So I won't be using this for this product. I mean, for this project right now, because it's a little chilly. So what I'm going to do instead, I'm going to mix up this colloidal silica, and this will thicken up the epoxy, and I'll spread this on and use this as my thickened epoxy. Along with that, I use a wider stick to mix that up, and definitely have to use a dust mask because this stuff goes everywhere. You don't want to use it on a windy day. It's going to be all over the place. And then finally, I use this little plastic spreader thing here to even out the thickened epoxy on the actual piece. Today I'm probably going to use the medium serrated edge. If it's a really super flat surface, you could use this really fine one. I've used that before. And if you've really got some issues with gaps, you got a big one here. So use that. And I guess that's it. So let's get started on it. So here you can see one of the ceiling beams that I'm going to be covering with a mahogany plywood, 1/4 inch thick. The construction of these beams, when they made them in the factory, was that they glued up some, looks like they glued up some scraps of mahogany. You can see a joint right here. And once they glued them up, they cut the radius with the pieces. They must have had a template of some sort. But you can see in this case, on this beam, and it's not on all of them, but they weren't too picky about getting the two pieces in the same plane. This piece on top is proud of the bottom piece by about 1/16 of an inch, and it's just the opposite on the other side. Pan over here, you can see there's the joint that they used, and you can also see all of the staple holes from where the headliner was stapled up on there. So I'll go over to this side, and you can see here's the same joint, and you can see how the bottom piece is sticking out proud of the top piece. Another interesting thing they did here and there was, if the piece didn't fit, they used some laminate from the countertop and shimmed it. Probably did that in about 3 or 4 places. So that was pretty interesting. Guess they really didn't care. It wasn't meant to be seen. It was just for function, you know, to hold up the ceiling. So yeah, we're gonna put that veneer on today and try to make it look a little prettier. So this is one of the mahogany plywood pieces I'm going to be installing today. It's 1/4 inch thick mahogany on one side, a little bit of a veneer on one side, and it's got just a base material on the other side. I don't even know what it is. Probably not even mahogany, but this is what's going to be going up. It's already been fitted and ready to go. I'm going to be doing these two beams. This one here had some cracks in it from where they had a piece of board in here with a light. I took it out, so it had some, they just nailed it on with galvanized nails, so kind of cracked when they did it. So I filled it already with the 610 epoxy. Cleanup on that first one, but now I'm going to clean up the excess epoxy. Today we're going to install some caps on the bottom of the ceiling beams. These caps are just to dress up the bottom of the beams, and I have 6 of them to do today. I'm going to show how to install one of them. This is a cutoff of one of the beam caps that I fabricated. You can see in the profile I routed a channel in it, rounded the edges off, and I made the channel quite a bit wider, and the beam cap in general quite a bit wider than the actual beams. And that's because the beams themselves are not they're not parallel to each other. They're kind of twisted and crazy. They weren't meant to be seen. They were just for function. They were all covered up with a vinyl headliner. So this will allow me to let the beam do whatever it wants to do in here, and the cap will look nice and straight. And it'll probably hide the fact that the beams aren't exactly perfect in there. So this is one of the ceiling beams that I'm going to be installing a cap on the bottom of it. So it's a Pele Mahogany cap that I fabricated, already fitted. These have already had the veneers installed on the sides of the beams and varnished. And I'm going to try to do 6 of them today. I'll just show the installation of one of them. But it's all ready to go. It's been sanded, taped off the center piece here to keep from getting epoxy on there. I am going to use some 610 West Systems epoxy on it just because I want it to be held in place pretty good. And I think that's going to help. Epoxy spread out on the bottom of this, well, it's to the top of the beam cap, but and I've also put some of that 610 thickened epoxy out of the caulk gun type thing along here, just in the center, just to help hold it a little bit better than just the screws. So now we'll put it in. I have this clamp I made here. It's actually a quick grip, and I flipped the 2 ends over. Well, I had one end was on the clamp. I had a second one I put on here. So instead of clamping together, I can push it apart, and you'll see how that works. basement shop, and I'm going to cut about 120 plugs for the beam caps that I installed. I'm ready to start installing some plugs in the beams. Normally I have a little hammer, but all I had was this one today. I left the other one at home. A little brush to spread the glue, in this case the epoxy, and then the plugs. One beam down, 5 more to go. Okay, well that's going to do it for this episode. I'm going to stop right here. We'll pick up where we left off in the next one. I like to keep the videos between 20 and 25 minutes, and that's where this one is falling, I think, right now. So yeah, that's going to end the portion of the video where I'm actually doing some work, and now I'm going to talk about release dates for the next videos. People that have been following along know that I just skipped January and February of 2019. Did that for a reason. I worked in the cockpit those 2 months, didn't take any film, just took pictures. And then I came inside here to do the finish off this ceiling and overhead. So I worked 2 months working in here, March and April, and then I jumped back in the cockpit. So I wanted to get this stuff out of the way, get these videos out. Probably going to have like three more, I think, maybe 4, I don't know. And then we're going to jump back in the cockpit, and we're going to stay there till like today, because I'm still working back there. So I figured I would just lump that stuff in and just move with it that way. So that's why I skipped those 2 months. The other thing is I'm trying to catch up and get about a 2-month buffer between real time and the videos. And right now we're about a year, so I may have to step up the video uploading and editing and all that, just to try to catch up. I'm not really sure yet. I'll have to see how it pans out with the actual footage I have and projects I'm working on and all that kind of stuff. But at some point I'm going to be doing that, so if you are subscribed and you don't hit that little bell, you're not going to know when these videos are coming out. If you are thinking of subscribing, you might want to hit that bell to know when the videos are coming out. You may not care and just stumble across them when you stumble across them. That's what I do sometimes when I'm subscribed to people. So whatever the case may be, just letting you know. So with that, everyone have a good one, and we'll see you really soon right here on Renovation Sportfish.